I am ready. I'm ready for my next challenge. You saw some of the feedback we got from my previous book, V'Adaita, which is so beautiful. This rabbi tells me that the backstory of the story was that he was asked by one of his congregants, this guy in Lake Casawaga or something in Oregon, I don't know what it is. He says that he was asked by one of his congregants, why would God have allowed my brother to die? And the rabbi didn't know what to say. I was like, look, it's a very, very deep question. It's the question of all questions. I don't know what to say. He saw my book on the status of somebody's Facebook or something. I don't know. So he bought the book. And he was empowered to study the answer from the very, very belly of the beast, from the very essence of Chassidus, to be able to share that with his congregant, and he was very, very grateful and relieved to be able to have those tools. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm working on another on my next book, which I want to learn with you now. A lot of these things we've learned, but I'm tying it all together now. It's on the theme of spiritual hacks to Menschlichkeit. Spiritual hacks to Menschlichkeit. Shortcuts, yeah. I was talking to a Jew this week who lost his mother. His mother is a member of Ashur, and she passed away. So the kid didn't have a relationship with us yet, and he's a kid. He's older than me. He's probably 49 years old. Yeah.
Where we stand.
Yeah.
We're all kids.
Age relative, right? So he says to me, we were talking. And he said that to him, Judaism is purely sentimental, idiosyncratic, at worst, sentimental at best. So has an interesting spectrum.
At such a young age is a terrible.
Not a bigot. He's not a bigot at all.
To think that he has an idea of what Judaism
I don't think he's a bigot at all. This is his exposure. This is his experience. So I sat with him for an hour, and we spoke about spirituality. And at the end of an hour, he says to me that he's never experienced spirituality and Judaism together. To him, spirituality was something completely separate from Judaism. Judaism is ritualistic. It's a foreign tongue. It's mindless readings. It's deeply uninspiring, And spirituality was like something else. But to be able to put that together was a very beautiful experience to him. And what I'm trying to do in this book is to be able to empower the reader with the teachings of Chassidus, to be able to learn how we can improve our human experience, how we can become the better versions of ourselves, and in fact, the best versions of ourselves, because we're complex beings. I'm studying about the Vargas vein. The Vargas vein, is it a vein or an artery? It's a Vargas vein. It runs from the brainstem down through the heart down into the gut. They talk about three brains. You have your head brain, your heart brain, and you have your gut brain. You've heard about the three brains? When you feel it in your gut, when you have a gut instinct, you got to follow your gut. You've got to, what's the word? You get butterflies in your stomach. You get the creeps about someone. What is that? Spilkus. Spilkus is a good word. Yeah, spilkus. What that is, Vargas nerve. Thank you, Richard. Vegas. No R over there. Vegas, like Las Vegas? No. Vegas with a U. Okay, Vegas nerve. It's fascinating because this nerve is really like a brain that connects your brain stem with your gut and allows you to realize how complicated we are as human beings. There's so much in motion. There's such a dynamic that when we try to become a good person, it's almost overwhelming. U.S. Yeah. You try to become a mensch, it's overwhelming. But Chassidus gives us the tools to be able to do that. And we do so both in a micro as well as in a macro experience. It's very exciting. I did speak about it in my sermon this past Shabbos, but I'm going to expand on it in coming weeks as I'm writing it all. And your feedback is very much greatly appreciated as I'm trying to put this all into a book, which I'm hoping to produce soon, hopefully.
I just want to say what makes it overwhelming are the impositions from the external world. If we were able to sit there alone, focus on meditation or doing simple things in our work in our life, I think we could achieve the best of ourselves.
And it's a very beautiful point, because perhaps we're deeply distracted. We're so distracted. If life used to be simple. You used to ask somebody 100 years ago, "What are you doing today?" And he says, "I'm walking to my brother-in-law." That's it. I'm walking to my brother-in-law. It's going to take me 8 hours. That's what I'm doing today. Today I'm like, I'm doing 7,500 things right?
While I walk to my brother.
You're right. So I can't focus on a single thing. Then, you walked 8 hours. You were just thinking. That's all you were doing by yourself, Today, we're so complex. We're so overwhelmed. We're a master of so many. We're a jack of so many trades, and we're a master of nothing. And Chassidus brings us back home. Brings it back home, empowering us to realize what it takes for us to be able to manipulate. This is reverse engineering, what we're about to be doing. We're going to be reverse engineering our souls. Yesterday there was a Hermé. I thought Hermé was like a handbag.
Hermé?
Turns out it's a drone. It's a drone, and it's an Israeli drone that was downed in Lebanon yesterday. I thought it was a handbag. But anyways, I don't know how I knew it's a handbag.
Maybe it was shaped like a handbag.
I'm reading this. I'm like, am I reading correct?
Hermes, and unfortunately,
It's pronounced Hermes.
Hermès. And it's on Palm Beach. It's in a plaza.
Okay, so
this sponsor.
So this drone, this drone was downed in Lebanon yesterday, and Israel sent in furious fire. They actually were trying to blow up any remnants of this drone, because I think it's 14 feet wide and max speed of 100 miles an hour. They needed to make sure that this drone would not fall into the wrong hands, God forbid, because who knows what they would have done with the reverse engineering. It's amazing what the Rebbe does with the imperfections of our humanity. The Rebbe takes, like a true shepherd of Israel. What's a Rebbe? A Rebbe is a shepherd of faith. He takes our failings, our insecurities, our inadequacies and imperfections, and he reverse engineers them in our favor. And that's what's about to happen right now. So if we can learn how to manipulate our weaknesses in our favor, then we suddenly become empowered to be better versions of ourselves. Now, some of these ideas I did speak about in the sermon this past Shabbos. So what we're doing now is that we're going back to core. I was very proud of my daughter. She came home last night very, very upset. She came home very, very upset last night. She was in tears. And I asked her why, what happened? So she says, it's all overwhelming when you come home to 11 kids. You want to know how everybody's day was.
30 seconds.
Talk about complexities, Rabbi.
Then it's midnight.
Yeah, I have teens and toddlers at home. When the toddlers are finally in bed and I'm exhausted, I'm crawling on all fours. Now the teens want to talk. What are you gonna do? Exhausted, and I'm gonna prepare my own things. So she tells me that her teacher said something which she found inappropriate, obnoxious actually. I don't want to repeat it because I'm embarrassed. No, she's in a private Jewish day school, girls' school. I was very surprised, and honestly, I'm embarrassed to repeat here in this forum what the teacher said. So she asked the teacher for a source.
What was it about? Prayer? Was it about?
It was about the role of woman. Yeah,
as I presume.
And the teacher expressed something which my daughter found chauvinistic. So my 15-year-old, in front of the whole class, she asked him for a source, and he lost it on her. You don't trust me? You don't trust me? You don't believe me? And he started mumbling, grumbling under his breath, and he started trying to embarrass her in public, in front of the class. And she was in tears. So I was sitting there with my wife, and I said, look, we can't change the teachers. Leopard doesn't change his spots. It seems like this teacher's been there for a very long time, and it doesn't look likely that he's going to change. But we as your parents can validate you and be very, very proud of you for asking that question. Mm-hmm. I said, you called his bluff and you proved him wrong to the point that he was groveling. And I said to her, when somebody begins to attack your character, you know that you've won the argument, right? Because
they lost it on logic.
Exactly. They lost it on logic. I was so proud of her. And she gave me the ultimate compliment. Then later that night, she came over to me last night. She said, she said to me something like, you were amazing, or you were, I'm so grateful for you, or something. And together from a teenage daughter, that's really beautiful, Yeah. So
pride yourself, right?
So what I'm saying is that I was so proud of my daughter that we've taught her that the role of a student is to make their teachers miserable, in a respectful way, to challenge your teachers, right? And if if you don't like what they're saying, then challenge them, right? So I gave a sermon this past Shabbos, but I want to take you back to the roots. I'm taking you back to the source so you can see it for yourself. It's one thing to hear a sermon. Okay, the rabbi said. But let's see it in the actual origin of what I was talking about this past Shabbos, which is such a powerful concept. It's so empowering. The idea that you cannot change who you are. This is the idea. You cannot change who you are from the inside out. But Chassidus is about to teach us that the way that you can change who you are is not from the inside out, but as counterintuitive as it sounds, you can change yourself from the outside in. This is the core of the idea. So, if you, for example, are a narcissist, let's say you're a narcissist. It happens. I think everybody's a narcissist. Personally, I think everyone's a narcissist on some level. The question is, how much of it do you share with others, right? Think about it. You're going to pay your own bills before you pay someone else's bills. So there's a primacy to self. The question is, how vocal are you about it? How much energy of one-way energy are you exhibiting around you, right?
How much are you tempered by something?
And how much are you tempered, right? So the question is, let's say you're a narcissist to the point that you're obnoxious, right? So can you change that? Can you change a narcissist? Chassidus tells us you can't. That's interesting. Chassidus tells us that you can't. I'm glad you like it, Stacy. Chassidus tells us you cannot change yourself. Why? Because at our core is, remember we learned this in Tanya, that you're made up, your core is your soul. You're not your elbows and your pancreas. Who you are is your soul. And who is your soul? Emotions and intellect. That's who your soul is. Feelings and perceptions. That's who your soul is. Now, if you are addicted to self, can't change it, because that's your emotion. But so what's the narcissist going to do right now? What's the narcissist going to do for the rest of his life now? He's going to be stuck. It's very, very difficult being married to a narcissist. It's very, very difficult working for a narcissist, or having an employee who's a narcissist. And there's an amazing book out there. It's called The Wizard of Oz and Other Narcissists. And and in this book, this brilliant psychologist author says that the only solution to living to working with a narcissist is amputation. It's the only solution. Either that or surrender to a life of misery. It's very interesting. The psychologist says the narcissist cannot change. It's very interesting. Chassidus says the same thing. You cannot change. But how does a narcissist actually change? I'll give you an example. So there's a woman who came to the Rabbi, and she said that she was trying to get married, and nobody wanted to marry her. And she says, Rabbi, because she actually handed the Rebbe a what do you call, like a report, like a therapeutic report, analysis of herself, profile. Like a profile of her, psychological profile. She hands the Rebbe like a stack of papers, like, this is me. So not expecting the Rebbe to read. The Rebbe was a speed reader, like the Rebbe was known in meetings. He would read a document in seconds. So she was like, and the Rebbe hands it back to her, and he says, I don't understand what the problem is. So she says, did you read it? And he says, yeah. Then you should know what the problem is. So the Rebbe says, I don't understand what the problem is. She says, if you read it, it would say that you'd realize it says I'm a narcissist. That's my report. So she says, this is how narcissist talks, right? To a Rebbe. So the Rebbe says, but I don't understand what your problem is now. Now she's confounded. What's my problem, right? Okay, so I'm a narcissist in general, but what's your problem right now? Said the Rebbe. Are you a narcissist right this second? The Rebbe was saying to her, she couldn't get married. Nobody wanted to marry her because she was obsessed. She was self-absorbed, right? You know what a narcissist is like on a date? After 2 hours of talking about himself, he says to her, enough of me talking about myself. What do you think about me?
By the way, you've made 2 Greek mythology references here. Ooh. After Hermes, Narcissus.
Narcissus is a Greek.
It's a Greek, Greek mythology. So maybe beautiful. You can kind of.
Sorry, forgive me. I'm trying. So she couldn't. Nobody wanted to marry her. So the Rebbe said to her, "Here's what I want you to do. When you're sitting in the lunchroom, the seminary, wherever she was, studying. You're sitting at the table. I want you to ask the people at the table if anybody needs the salt. That's it. Just ask around the table. Does anybody need the salt?
Make believe you care about
Make
somebody else
believe.
besides yourself.
That's exactly what the Rabbi said to her. Make believe that you care. An amazing, amazing piece of advice that's going to make sense as we study this very short mimer. Now, it's not in English. Forgive me, right, guys? Forgive me. It's not in English. I just felt that the reason I'm writing the book is because I'm tying together all these sources from the,
Gotta
locked.
bring it to us.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I hope you don't mind. I'm talking a lot. I'm just trying to give you a little context. I'll give you one more story. There was a young couple soon to get married, about 10 days before their wedding, that came to the Rebbe for a private audience. There was no, private young couples would come for a blessing from the Rebbe before they got married. I remember my in-laws came in to the Rebbe for a private audience before they got married in 1982. I think they got married. They came into the Rebbe for a blessing, and the Rebbe said to them, "Ihr sollt machen lichtig und warm arumaich." You should make illumination and warmth around you. And I believe that the purpose of the blessing meant that by warming up the lives of people around you, you'll have a warm home as well, a house that's warm and illuminated. So this young couple comes into the Rebbe before they get married, and the bride to be asks for a few private moments of the Rebbe before they end the audience. So the groom steps out, and she's alone with the Rebbe in the private audience. She's there for about 10 minutes. She comes out. Her groom asks her, "What happened?" She says, "I'll tell you after." So she didn't tell him until after the wedding. You're not supposed to meet your bride and groom. You're not supposed to see each other for 7 days before the wedding. So they kind of separated, and it was only until after the wedding she told him what happened. During that few minutes of the Rebbe, she said to the Rebbe, she professed her concern for her poor husband to be. She admitted to the Rebbe that she was self-absorbed and that she felt that it wasn't appropriate for her to enter into a marriage with this man because he doesn't deserve the treatment that he's going to get from her. Wow.
All
Can you
right.
imagine?
She
Now, if
was
you were the rabbi, what would you say?
Have a nice day.
You're already broken up, a lot of engagement.
That was a true story.
Yeah.
I'd start praying for that man.
I was already well there.
No, but I mean, at least she cares. What would the Rebbe say, right?
No, right.
What would the Rebbe say? She specifically said that she's got a very short temper. If I remember correctly, it was short temper. She has a very short fuse, and she feels bad for her husband. She said, he's a nice guy. He doesn't deserve to be treated the way he's soon to be treated. Right now, it's romance. It's all fun and games. But when the spaghetti hits the fan, it's not going to be pretty. What are we going to do?
So during the wedding ceremony, right very end, so right into the cottage.
God forbid. So here's what the Rebbe says to her. The Rebbe says to this woman that it's known that parenting children teaches you patience. So the more children you have, the more patience you'll learn.
Right, and the anger will never happen, right?
Listen to what that. It's not done. Hang on.
It'll be directed towards
The
kids.
more patience you have, the more children you have, the more you'll learn the art of patience. Think about it. When a child comes crying to you,
I've been told.
I had another beautiful daddy-daughter moment the other day. Very beautiful one. My daughter she made the phone call. This is another daughter. She made the phone call. When your daughter calls and says, crying in tears, she had an accident. Her first accident.
In a car.
Yeah. So she calls me in tears. And I said, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Good. Okay, good. I'll be right there." So I went over there, took care of whatever needed to be taken care of. And then, we came home and, I was very nice to her and everything, compassionate. So, you spend a lot of time in the car. It's fine. That happens to everybody. And she's been eyeing me for the past 24 hours. And she came to me last night. She was like, Are you like upset with me? I'm like, why? Why would I be upset with you? Because you're just being normal. And I'm like, what do you mean? She said, shouldn't you be upset with me because I had an accident? I said, I'm not kidding. I completely understand. She said, you're so nice. Something like it was such a beautiful moment, And when you look at when you look at your own child that makes such a mistake, you exhibit compassion. You feel compassionate, right? It's like the wife that calls her husband. She calls him frantically. She says, "There's good news and there's bad news. Which one do you want to hear first?" So he says, "Give me the good news first." So she says, "Okay, the good news is that the airbags on your brand new Lexus work exceptionally well."
Don't need to say anymore.
So when it's your own child.
That wasn't the good news.
So when it's your own child, you learn compassion. So here's what the Rebbe said to her. Said to her, until you have children, what do? It could take a while to have kids. Until you have children, I think you should volunteer with children of special needs. Immediately after the wedding, get involved with children of special needs. What? Brilliant, right? Get involved. So that way, you're automatically involved with those kids and you'll automatically be learning, because children with special needs, of course, take much, much longer to do ordinary tasks. So you'll be learning how to be a nice person. This is what the Rebbe said to this woman. Now, I don't know what happened to the marriage, but I have no idea. But I just thought it was such a beautiful introduction to this idea of spiritual hacks to Menschlichkeit.
Get over
That
yourself.
you can't change yourself from the inside out, but you can change yourself from the outside in. What we're about to learn is a discourse from the Alter Rebbe. It's a very short discourse. It's one known as the short discourses of the Alter Rebbe. It's about 8 lines long. I don't know which year that was published. It doesn't really say. But in this discourse, the Alter Rebbe calls this an inyan amik, a deep matter, like a mysterious truth that I believe I know the answer to. And that's one of the reasons I'm writing the book, because I believe that based on other teachings from the Rebbe and the Alter Rebbe, I believe I can put it together into one cohesive, coherent presentation, which I'm excited to share with you. But suffice it to say that maybe I could just do the discourse of the Alter Rebbe in brief right now, just as an introduction, okay? As we start off, I guess, it starts on a verse of Isaiah. Every Chassidic discourse is based on a verse in Torah, of which it asks a couple questions, and then, it gets into the real topic, and it comes back to the answers. So the verse says like this: "And your teachers shall no more be concealed." This is the verse in Isaiah. It's talking about the future redemption, the days of Mashiach, that there will be no more hiding. Your teachers shall no longer be concealed refers to God. We live in a world today where God is hiding. Why is God hiding? Look around. You don't see God. What do you see? You see money. You see avarice. You see gluttony. You see selfishness. You see people putting their own agendas. You can't make this stuff up. There was a guy a Muslim leader in London yesterday who protested. He protested on social media and at a public rally in London, one of these unbelievable pro-Hamas rally stuff that you can't even make up. And here's what he said. It's incredible. I'm going to quote it to you because I wouldn't want to mess this up. It's that good. Oh, shoot. Maybe I can't find it. I hope I can find it. Whatever. I don't want to waste any time. But he basically said that the times are no longer what they used to be. Because today, you can't even hijack airplanes anymore. You can't even just be. You can't just be. We're living in such a selfish culture that people are, to be able to even think like this is unbelievable, right? So the idea here is that you look around, you don't see Hashem. If you want to see Hashem, you got to think about it deeply. Thank you. Thank you so much. You can't kidnap babies. Sorry, you can't protest peacefully. You can't boycott. You can't hunger strike. You can't hijack planes. You can't block traffic. You can't throw Molotovs. You can't self-immolate. You can't heckle politicians. This is an actual post by Mohammed El-Kurd, posted at 8:20 p.m. on February 26th. And it's got 3,501 views, wherever that was posted. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So we live in a world in this. Oh, he's quoting that guy. In the spiritual worlds, the angels are aware of the presence of God, but we're living in a world where we have blinders. We don't see God. Where God is hidden from us. When Mashiach will come, the glory of God will be revealed, and all fleshly eye will see that God has spoken. Right? There's a different verse, and on that day will be Hashem Echad U'Shmo Echad, right? We'll see that God is revealed, right? But that's what the verse is talking about. It says the Alter Rebbe in his short discourses that there are garments that conceal over what lays beneath. to the point that you cannot discern between good and bad. Now, he's talking about the analog, which is God's concealment, but the metaphor is our lives, where our external behavior conceals over our inner truth. And he brings for this two examples. One is from a foolish person who speaks words of wisdom. He just speaks words of wisdom. If you have a fool that chooses to speak words of wisdom, then what's happening? He's faking it. He's wearing a garment which betrays his truth, which is stupidity. He just happens to be speaking words of truth. You wouldn't know the difference because you just met the guy 5 minutes ago and he seems to be espousing words of wisdom, right? It looks to all onlookers that he looks like a great, wise person. A second example by the Alter Rebbe is that an evil person who chooses to do acts of kindness, that people perceive him as being a good person, right? So now both of these examples, a bad person behaving in good behavior, and a foolish person speaking words of wisdom, both of them are concealing their inner truth. Their outside is concealing their truth. Says the Alter Rebbe like this, that there is a mystical power in the garments of our soul, in the manifestation, the external manifestation of our soul, which is thought, speech, and action. How we think, how we speak, and how we act, right? So the fool speaking words of wisdom, that's the garment of the soul. The evil person acting charitable, right? That is action. These are thought, speech, and action, the garments of the soul. There is a mystical power in the thought, speech, and action, the garments of the soul, to beautify that which they conceal over, just like an ugly person whose clothing can make him beautiful.
You know, you were talking about change from the outside in. When I, if you don't mind, when I had my consulting company, we were brought into large companies that were in trouble, and our task was to transform the company, sometimes thousands of people. And it was always about change. You know, how do we bring about change in people? And we, the conventional wisdom would be that you would try and win the mind. The conventional wisdom is win the mind, win the behavior, right? So we found that it was very difficult to convince somebody intellectually why the change would be in their best interest. So our approach was counterintuitive, and that is, if we change the behavior, people will, and they experience the behavior, people will understand in their mind why it was good to make the change.
So that's working backwards.
Yeah.
Love it. So you wanted initially to change their thinking so that they would change from the inside out.
We found it very
It was
difficult to do that
amazing. So you did
intellectually.
this on a corporate America level, and you hit some brick walls. It was too hard. So what you did is you changed the behavior on the outside, which is the garments.
Yes.
Right? Just change
Well,
the
we
jacket.
changed their behavior.
Just change the jacket. That's it. Change the garment, the thought, speech, and action.
Right.
Change their behavior, and somehow, in a way that you can't even explain, everything else followed suit. That's exactly,
Yeah. I mean,
Chuck. That's exactly what the Maimer is telling us.
If you have deep-rooted beliefs over your lifetime or whatever, it's hard intellectually.
I want to tell you something.
to
Let's talk about a
convince somebody
marriage.
to
Let's talk
change.
about a marriage. You know, sometimes some marriages go stale. Happens. Some people just they fall into this what do you call it? Like a just a what?
Right.
A rut. They fall into a rut, right? It's just there's nothing exciting. It's just status quo. They become the establishments. What do you do about such a marriage? What do you do? You have to find. What do you do? This is very, very beautiful advice from Chassidus. Even though you're not feeling the love, speak the love. Think loving thoughts and do loving acts. And when you do that, what?
Thought, speech, and action.
Thought, speech, and action. And when you do that, then what's going to happen is that everything's going to change. Folks, this affects your spirituality, your relationship with God. This affects your relationship with your spouse. It affects your relationship with your parents and your children. It affects your relationship with your business, with your workplace, with your money. It affects your relationship with everything. You cannot change yourself from the inside out, but you can change yourself from the outside in. This is a profound mystical truth. As the Alter Rebbe quotes right now, he says, where does this power come to the garments of the soul? It's quoted in the book of Moirecho that this is a deep matter.
So why isn't it as you talk and
Complex
teach,
systems here.
why isn't it action, speech, thought? Why do we say thought, speech, action?
Okay, that's a different
Why
conversation.
shouldn't it be the reverse?
It is being reversed.
Thought, speech, and action, because the
Reverse
process normally
engineering.
begins. Normally, you think before you speak, and normally you think before you act.
But you're suggesting the other. Act.
Oh,
and-
you're saying starting from the
That's
outside
what
in. You're saying starting from the outside in. Look, I want to tell you. No, I want to tell you something. Because you know what? You have to think before you act. Because if you don't think before you act, then you're just like an animal. If you have mindful actions, that's what you did with your companies.
Right.
You did mindful actions, not mindless actions.
Right.
You said, this is the plan, this is how we're gonna do it. Right? You didn't change their thinking, you just told them what they're going to do. So thought certainly came before speech and action, right? I'm just gonna finish this discourse over here. Concludes Alter Rebbe that applying this to the coming of Mashiach, right? That when it says that your garments will no longer conceal you anymore. Okay, I'm going to stop over there because that's already a new topic. But the bottom line is what I want to conclude with over here, guys, is like this: is that we are empowered, we are complex human beings, and it's time for us to become conscious, to realize that there's an inner and there's an outer. There's a tremendous power to our outer garments, right? Just like in a physical reality, we all know that the way you dress is the way that you feel. If you dress like a beach bum, you'll feel like a beach bum. And if you dress like $1 million, you'll feel like $1 million, right? Just as that's true on a very, very ordinary, routine wardrobe level, it's also true on a marital, relationship, spiritual level. We're going to apply this truth because of the secret, the power, the mystical energy that exists within garments. We're going to talk about superficiality, about the power of superficiality as we develop this theme. But suffice it today to say that the spiritual hack, the Menschlichkeit, is that you got to act from the outside. From the outside. Act like a mensch, you'll become a mensch. All right?
Focus on the garment.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we're going to develop this idea over the next couple of weeks. So hang in with me. Thank you very much for joining me here today.
Complex systems theory.